All right, so the market just went down and down and down. Yesterday, we probably saw one of the worst market ever. And of course, for myself, an investor in Snapchat, we saw worse. Okay, Snapchat basically went all the way down by 43% intraday, effectively quite nicely stabilizing one of the worst day possible for Snapchat. Easily the worst day since the IPO in 2017. And yeah, Snapchat actually went, their all-time high was about $80. Right now, they are down all the way to about $13 or so. And like I said in my previous few videos about Snapchat, and I always said that, I'm going to be buying in on the dip, but I'm not in a hurry. And also, I'm buying in on the dip because I need to lower my average, not because I suddenly see a new bullish catalyst. My stance on Snapchat is still going to be the same. And I just want to lower my cost of basis. And like I said before, I do think that you don't have to rush in, okay? Because if you did rush in, you might have bought in at $16 when you can clearly buy at 14, 13, 12, and so on and so forth. So I do think that for Snapchat-wise, it's not just Snapchat, okay? There's going to be a lot of tech stocks, growth stocks in general that you might find that you're basically a little bit interested. At the same time, you kind of don't know what you want to get into it or not. Just look at Google, for example. Like, Google is a great company. Let me see how much did Google actually drop. Google dropped by 5% yesterday. And then afterwards, in the pre-market, it dropped by another 0.3% again. So yeah, Google is a great company. Okay. And, I'm looking to get more Google, actually, if it continues to stay around this level. By some, Google is most likely going to be like 2 shares of Google, but nevertheless, I do think that Alphabet is still going to be a good company for me to actually get into if I am able to do so. I'm still waiting for my pay from my day job to support whatever I'm doing in my nighttime. But yeah, the market is definitely not going to be doing very, very well. And especially yesterday, we got new home sales. Okay, later on, I'll be going through a CNBC video, basically explaining about how horrible the new home sales were. And I also explaining on my Instagram in post format. If you're interested in that, follow me at Ong Park Hauser on Instagram. I post there every single day. And, I do think that the new home sales definitely is going to be posing some form of a recessionary fears, as always. And secondly, we're also looking into a possible concern that we might be having with the Federal Reserve FOMC minutes. Okay, so the minutes will be coming out later on, I think at about 2:30 a.m. Singapore time, which is like mid-session of the entire trading hours. So I do think that there is a good chance that I might go through it, but at the same time, I do think that I am a little bit tired. So I'm not sure if I'm going to stay up for it, but I'll see how it goes. If I am going to be going through with the minutes, I'll most likely be posting another video either after the minutes come out, or I'll just include it into the news tomorrow. All right, so anyway, let's go with some news today. Can't long for this. Okay, first of all, let's get the saddest stuff out of the way, which is Texas. Texas shooting case, with 19 children and 2 adults passed away in an elementary school after a teen shooter, an 18-year-old man, basically shot 19 children and 2 adults. Pretty horrible. And I think that, gun laws as a whole in US is really one of the most triggering things to me. And I really cannot wrap my head around it. Like, I don't get, the whole gun lobbying and such. So, and of course, I'm not American, so I don't think I really have much of a say in that. But I do think that, this is a lot of trouble for this. And I think a lot of families that's being affected by this is just crazy. And honestly, I don't think that there's anything for me to really cover on this side because I tend to talk more about the market side of things. But I do think that I want people to at least know about this incident happening. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people already know because this was quite a huge case that was I think broadcasted worldwide on major news platforms as well. So yeah, you know. All right. Anyway, let's move on to economic news. Stocks future waiver ahead of Fed's minutes. Like I said before, I do think that do understand that these minutes are basically what actually happened with Jerome Powell. Okay, Jerome Powell, whatever he said, or at least whatever that he reiterated during the Q&A, this minutes is going to kind of substantiate whatever he said and whatever actually happened in the meeting itself. Okay, so it could be good, it could be bad. Okay, but from what I remember, the FOMC meeting that we actually had with Jerome Powell coming out, it was fantastic. Okay, they were actually very, very stern about a lot of things, but they were expecting a softish landing according to Jerome Powell. But of course, I do see two possible things. Well, basically one possible thing that would be a concern, a valid concern, which would most likely be the fact that because Jerome Powell also penned in a possibility for us to have the next couple FOMC meeting to have a 50 basis point hike. And I do think that when this information actually comes out, it might actually scare the market, even though we kind of already priced it in to a certain extent. But I do think that when that actually comes out, it's going to be scaring the market a little bit, especially after what happened with the new home sales. Okay, and I'm going to be moving over to the new home sales just because it kind of makes sense together with this. Okay, over here.
Yeah, I had to look at this one twice, right? Because I was like, wait a minute, that we were expecting 750,000, so to get 590 was really well below expectations. And I got to lay all of this on interest rates. I really do. We started the month with the average on the 30-year fixed at
for people who don't really understand what this is, new home sales, okay, they were expecting new home sales to be going down to begin with, okay? Everyone expected new home sales to be going down because of the interest rate hikes, and of course, with the potential even more interest rate hikes in the future as well, especially what I just said before, 50 basis point hike for the next couple of FOMC meeting, according to Jerome Powell during the FOMC meeting. Later on, we're going to have the minutes, and if those were also penned in properly, I do think that that's going to scare the market, especially with this kind of new homes result. New home sales, they were expecting 1.7% decrease, okay? A drop of 1.7% in the sales. And it was reported 16.6% drop, okay? You're looking at like what, 10 times of the 10 times of the miss, okay? They basically missed by 10 whole times. And that's horrible for the entire market. And like what she said at the start as well, okay, they are expecting this to be because of interest rates, okay?
At 4.88% in April, ended it at 5.41%. Remember, these are contracts signed in April. That's what these numbers are based on, not closing. So it's not back several months. This is the most recent indicator. So if you're looking at a $450,000 house, which is what the median price was, that mortgage payment just during the month went up $100, but from the start of the year, when a lot of these folks might have been thinking about buying a new house, that monthly payment has increased by $450. That's a lot for the.
Okay, so she did. Okay, so according to what she said, okay, so new home sales, these numbers were basically considered as when they actually did the mortgage and such, okay? So these are basically being signed and not really paid, okay? And this is going to be a huge issue because this is according to the signing of it and not closing of it, okay? So for example, if it's based on the signing of it alone, okay, it means that there's still a possibility for the future homeowner to basically just be like, you know what, actually, I don't think I'm able to afford this due to the increased rates. I don't think I'll be able to afford monthly payments. Like what she said, it's going to be increased by $450 per month. Okay, and you're talking about $450 per month on top of like $1,000. So that's almost 50% increment. Okay, I don't think anyone would just be like, yeah, sure, we can handle that. Okay, I don't think that's going to be the case. Which is why I do think that, because of that, we might actually see a even bigger drop that is going to be coming. And let's not forget, it's not as if that the interest rates are going to suddenly be going down either, because we're expecting at least 100 basis point 3 months from now. So that's gonna be pretty bad. Okay.
The average borrower out there to make that monthly came in that much higher. Also, looking at the month supply for the builders, a 9-month supply up from a 6-month supply in March.
All right, so this one is basically the biggest part of them all, and I probably don't have to show you guys any of this. I'm gonna just type in months supply houses US. I'm gonna find the Freight and Lewis. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you guys. Oops, that's not it. Let me just bring this back here. Okay, here you go. Okay, I'm just gonna show you guys. Okay, so my concern, okay, I'm pretty sure we all already know about what happened back in 08. Okay, back in 08. Okay, this graph. Okay, just to let you guys know first, this graph basically shows the monthly supplies of houses in US across timeline. Okay, just simply said, during the higher the months of supply of houses, the worse it is. It simply means that you have higher inventory of houses, aka not enough demand and a lot of supply. Okay, so this grayed out period is of course the 08 recession, and you can see that the months of supply in houses went all the way high to like 12 months. Okay, you had 1 year of supply of houses. Okay, so let's just say before the recession, okay, before the recession even hit, okay, we were all the way to about 9.6 months, 9.6 months of supply in houses. Okay, what are we at today? Today, in April of 2022, we're looking at 9 months of supply. Okay, and I do think that this is starting to actually show some form of a trend. Okay, a lot of people are saying, nah, I don't think the real estate is a bubble. Okay, I don't think real estate is a bubble because after the 08 situation, when everything recovered, housing continues to go up in price. That's completely true, and I totally get it. Okay, but you have to also take into consideration that, if you're actually buying into a house right now, okay, if interest rate is going to continue going up, you're actually giving out a lot more cash flow than is needed. Okay, and chances are your house might not appreciate as fast, especially with the amount of months of supply that's in the market. Okay, imagine if, let's just say in the whole entire world, okay, everyone have a house, for example. Okay, and if there's even more houses than people, okay, chances are no one's going to be buying new houses, okay, other than those people who are basically buying for investments. And if I'm going to be buying for investment, there's no reason why I would buy something that's going to be more expensive than someone else. And it's not as if there's only one house available for me to buy. Okay, there's going to be so many other houses available for me to buy. Okay, and with a lot of supply comes a lack of demand. And even with a lack of demand, it's very simple, because when you have a lack of demand, you can easily play it off. Okay, you can easily play it off. For example, right now, looking at 9 months of supply, if I were to go house shopping today, okay, and if the realtor basically tells me that, okay, this house basically was about $500,000, okay, and you know what, because we're trying to cut the deal right now, let's do 480. Okay, if you're okay with 480, let's do 480. Okay, if I were to tell him to do a 450 for the house, there's a good chance that he will close it as well. Why? Because if we're entering a recession, this might not even go 450. This might even go down to 400. Okay, if the months of supply in houses actually go all the way to 12 months again, okay, the peak of the recession, and I'm not saying that it will happen. I'm saying that there's a very, very high possibility of it happening because we're not even in recession yet. Okay, and I think that these are just the writings on the wall. And yeah, that's kind of my concern for the various information that we have in the market right now. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is Russian forces expand Donbas region assault, but at a steep cost. Situation for Ukrainian force is in one eastern city is described as dire, but Moscow is also taking heavy losses in the latest fighting. All right, let's see what they're actually losing. The city is being destroyed. Yesterday there were fights on the outskirts of the city. Our guys are holding on, but Putin set a goal for his army to capture the Luhansk region no matter what cost. Shelling in Severodonetsk was so heavy. Russia's focus. Okay. I don't think they're going to be saying something. Okay, paying a steep price for the gains it's made. They are sending units from southern Ukraine to fight in Donbas. Losing so many men that continued Ukrainian resistance could eventually force them to shift strategies again. Okay, so I do think that what this article is basically saying is that the reason why Russia is kind of so-called losing or having a steep cause to what they're actually doing right now. It's because of the amount of manpower that they're actually sending over to Ukraine to fight this war, the amount of weapons, the ammunition, in general, just sending it, all the firepower that they can, sending it over to the Ukraine. And at the moment, like I said before, Russia expected this to be a 3 days thing, not a 3 months, 3 years thing. Okay, so clearly, I think Russia clearly miscalculated, and I think that they're just starting to pay the price now. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, I have a odd inkling that this might, just drag out to become an occupation. But yeah, I do think that that's going to be some form of a concern for us to really look into. But I do feel that if this actually hold out for a long period of time, Ukraine would eventually come on top, especially with the amount of support that Ukraine have from the global scales, especially with how this whole entire thing was narrated, with how Russia basically just trying to forcibly enter into Ukraine due to the whole NATO negotiation and such. All right, anyway, let's move on to the next news. All right, the Iranian, Iran used secret UN records to evade a nuclear probes. So apparently this is a Wall Street Journal exclusive. I don't really understand this whole thing. So basically they're saying that, the internal IAEA documents obtained by Iranian intelligence were sent to top officials amid an investigation into a suspected past nuclear weapon program. And yeah, they're just saying that, apparently the Secret Service and the Iranian side of things, their intelligence also kind of traded the information, even though they were considered as confidential. Afterwards, this kind of complicates the revival of a nuclear deal that I talked about, I think, 2 months ago. I think I talked about this. I think about 2 months ago. I can't really remember anymore. But yeah. So yeah, right now the Middle East intelligence officials are saying, the IAEA documents are, because they are all confidential, and the Iranian records were circulated between 2004 and 2006 among the senior Iranian military, the government, and all the nuclear program officials. So right now they are just basically investigating this whole entire situation to see how it actually goes. Not really big news, but of course it's still considered breaking news for some people who are really, really interested in this sort of news. All right, moving on. Hey, honestly, you think inflation is so bad? Look at Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe inflation is back above 100% after currency plunge. So of course, annual inflation quickened to 131.7% from 96.4% in April, ending a 10-month period in which the rate was below 100%. To think that a country is happy that their inflation is below 100% a year. So yeah, Zimbabwe. But yeah, of course, we do talk about this as a joke and such, but at the same time, I do think that in Zimbabwe themselves, in the country itself, a lot of the people, a lot of the merchants and businesses often runs with US dollars and maybe euros at times, but mostly US dollars, simply because Zimbabwe money is just not worth it. The amount of inflation that's get hit by it, no one's going to be investing in Zimbabwe dollars either. So the central bank can't really do much about it. And especially with the sudden food shortages going on, supply chains issue going on, and of course with geopolitical tensions at the same time, in the middle of all these concerns that we're actually having, it's definitely going to be hitting the poorer countries, and Zimbabwe is not one to be able to avoid this sort of news. All right, let's move on to the next news. China follows Biden's remark on by announcing Taiwan and military drills. Okay, honestly, I can totally see where China is coming from. Okay, so China basically is saying that, yeah, they are going to be doing Taiwan military drills, okay, because US basically said that they're going to be involving themselves militarily when asked to Biden, point blank, will y'all do anything, and Biden said, yeah, we will. And afterwards, he basically, sorry, we misspoke. We are just going to be sending weapons and such. And to me, I'm thinking, man, sometimes you just think that Biden can easily cause a war by accident. And he was so close, because the thing is that if he actually followed up and actually was strong-armed about it and wanted to actually push the point to say that they will protect Taiwan no matter what against China, okay? Man, don't even talk about Russia and Ukraine. We're going to be talking about China and US. And that's going to be a whole nother story for us, okay? That's a whole nother chapter that I don't even want to open up, okay? And that's also one of the reasons why I'm so confused by what Biden is doing at a lot of times. Every single turn, Biden just surprised me over and over again. I don't know what to say about Biden. So yeah, at least it's not my president, I guess. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going to be happening with the China side of things, especially with what Biden basically strong arming to say that they are going to be they are going to be interfering or involving themselves militarily if China were to ever try to invade Taiwan forcibly. And yeah, I do think that that's definitely going to be some huge issues. As much as a lot of people think, or as much as Biden thinks that he's just going to be sending weapons over, like how he is helping, or how US is helping Ukraine. I do think that the Chinese are not going to be thinking that way, because Biden basically said, yeah, we're gonna help Taiwan no matter what. Okay, and that just kind of set off the wrong tone. And of course, even though Biden came out to say that, okay, I misspoke, I meant that we'll do, but it doesn't matter. Okay, just look at this article, like it's horrible. Okay, over here they say on the Taiwan issue, the US says one thing and does another, giving repeated encouragement to Taiwan independent forces. This is hypocritical and futile, and it will only lead the situation to a dangerous situation, and you will also face serious consequences. Okay, this is huge. Okay, the comments show how much Biden angered Beijing by answering yes when asked Monday in Tokyo if the US would act militarily to defend the island in the event of a Chinese attack. Like, come on, man. Like, oh. So yeah, White House officials later said that he was only promising US aid to help Taiwan defend itself in the event of hostilities. Then afterwards, of course, the spokesman from Beijing said it will incur irreparable consequences and unbearable costs for supporting Taiwan, and it's true. Okay, I even explained it in one of the news segment as well, and I think that I'm not sure if this is what US is trying to do, if they want to just strong arm this whole entire thing while China is still fighting COVID for the 20th time. But it's cool, okay? If you want to go ahead to do that, that's fine. Don't take away your own stance to say, oh, we misspoke. Okay, if you want to strong arm them, strong arm them. Don't there's a lot of mixed signals. I'm not sure if Biden is just talking on accident and just slipping some words out by accident and such. So yeah, that's kind of my concern on Biden. And afterwards, we got the last news on Biden as well, which is that Biden demanding U.S. to stand up to gun makers after Texas attack leaves 19 children dead. I'm sick and tired, says, the president says, of the deadly school attack. Biden addresses the Uvalde mass shooting upon return from Asia. So yeah, he said, I hope that when I became president, I will not have to do this again. Another massacre in Uvalde, Texas, and elementary school, beautiful innocent, second, third, and fourth graders. As a nation, we have to ask, when are we going to stand up to the gun lobby, when we are going to do what we know in our gut needs to be done? And of course, they are just citing a lot of other attacks that happened. And yeah, any basketball questions don't matter. Recounting, when are we going to do something? Oh, yeah. I ask you, Mitch McConnell, and ask all of you senators who refuse to do anything about the violence, the school shootings, and the supermarket shootings. I ask you, are you going to put your own desire for power ahead of the lives of our children, our elderly, and our church goers? Because that's what it looks like. Yeah. Like I said before, I don't think I want to talk a lot about this situation, but I think that because a lot of them are actually talking about how they want to go against the whole gun lobbying such, And I understand in the US, it's very, very hard for you to actually go against the gun lobbies because they do make up a pretty hefty market, surprisingly. And also at the same time, there's a lot of people who actually support, you know, legality around guns simply because it's for for your own protection. If people are holding on to guns, you will feel safer to have your own gun. Okay. And even if you make it illegal, okay, people are still going to be illegally holding on to guns, and then it's going to be hard. And right now, this has been happening for decades, centuries even, and it's very hard for you to suddenly just be like, okay, you know what, now it's illegal to hold any sort of firearms in the US, and that's going to be very, very hard. Okay, as much as people can bring out measures to say, oh, we can find those, all the guns are basically coded, all the guns are basically barcoded to a certain shop, to a certain merchant, to a certain organization, whatever it is. Okay, guns cannot be completely illegal in US. I don't think that will ever happen. Okay, and even if it does, there are going to be people who are going to be arguing to the death of them, thinking that having a gun is going to be better protection than the whole police force or the emergency forces in general. So I think that is going to be a hard debate for them to actually go through. Of course, I'm against guns. I grew up in a country without guns, and I grew up without worrying about the legalities around guns in general. So I don't think that this is really a debate for us to really have. It's really down to the Americans to see what they actually want to do with this whole gun lobbying situation. But yeah, definitely very, very sad. I hope that, my condolences go out to the people, the family and friends of the 19 children and also the 2 adults. One of the adults is a grandmother as well. And yeah, I really, my heart goes out to them. Pretty heavy, and it's not just school shootings, supermarket shootings, street shootings, and yeah, I think it's about time everything stopped. But like I said before, I don't think that the measures is going to be coming easy. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later or tomorrow.